Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to the webinar. In this webinar, inshallah, we're going to be talking about getting back on track after Ramadan. You know, a lot of us, we struggle maintaining our exercising or our healthy eating practices, but you are not alone in this. So we're going to tackle what might be holding you back from being healthy and fit so that you can overcome these challenges and keep your energy high and your body healthy, inshallah. And now, introducing the main host of our, to kick off this webinar, Amina Khan is an award-winning fitness coach and the founder of Amana Fitness. She has inspired thousands of busy Muslims from all over the world to start exercising with her fast, fun, and modest at-home workouts. So, without further ado, here is Amina Khan.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. So today is all about talking about getting back on track after Ramadan. I know that so many of us have felt that struggle. Really, how do we get back with a healthy routine? After Ramadan, I've been feeling, kind of off. I haven't been able to get back to the healthy eating that I know I should be doing, but I've just been struggling. I haven't been able to slide back into a fitness routine. We're going to talk about all of that today, inshallah. Let's jump in, talk about a Ramadan recap. Not only in terms of how Ramadan went for you, but I also want to kind of touch base and just appreciate the effort that all of you put into our Ramadan programs. Our mission this Ramadan was to help you and your family enjoy a healthy Ramadan and also help families in need around the world. And so Jazakallah khair, if you got our Ramadan Reset Guidebook, we were really focused on helping Muslim families around the world prioritize their healthy eating and make it simple and delicious as well. And alhamdulillah, with your support, we were able to donate 100% of all profits from the guidebook to support medical relief in Palestine. We were able to donate $16,500, alhamdulillah. So thank you for being part of that. So if you got the Ramadan Reset Guidebook, definitely continue using it all year long. Those meal plans, those recipes are fantastic outside of Ramadan. So make sure that you are continuing to use it. And I'll also give you some tips on how to do that in this webinar. This Ramadan, we also, of course, we're really focused on our Ramadan free workout videos. So let me know in the chat if you did any of our Ramadan workout videos. Really, we love creating these modest follow along workout videos so that you can make sure that fitness is something easy and doable to do at home. And mashallah, this year, over 20,000 Muslims went through our Ramadan workouts. And I love to hear in the chat that you guys enjoyed them as well, mashallah. So thank you for being part of that. And our goal now is to also help you transition after Ramadan so we can continue making these healthy habits a part of your life, inshallah. So in terms of what's next from us at Amana Fitness after Ramadan, so of course today we are having this free webinar in terms of how to get back on track. And then really exciting, I'm so excited to share with you, next week from June 7th to 11th, we are doing our free Body Reset Fitness Challenge. So we're bringing back this popular free workout challenge. It's 5 days of free workouts. They're short, just 5 minutes a day, but they are such fantastic energizers and truly the perfect way to get your body back and reset after Ramadan. So I'm really excited to share those with you. That is going to be next week, so make sure that you sign up for that. Amina has dropped the link in the chat box to join. It's a free challenge for you to go through with us, and I'm so excited to see you guys go through the challenge workouts, inshallah. And then also the week after that, June 14th, after we finish the Body Reset Challenge, inshallah, the Amanah Bootcamp program will open. So many of you guys are familiar that this is my personal bootcamp program where we are going through every single day with your personal workouts, your personalized workout plan. This is the best way, again, to continue this amazing momentum that we're building now. My Amanah Bootcamp workouts are 20 minutes a day, no equipment necessary, all fitness levels, and it's a lifetime access program. So it's a really amazing way to, again, making sure that you're continuing not just in Ramadan, but we're transitioning into making fitness a part of your life long term. So you can get onto the Amanah Bootcamp waiting list as well at amanahfitness.com/bootcamp. And I just wanted to share that with all of you that we have some awesome programs waiting for you after Ramadan. Next week is the Body Reset Challenge, and right after that, the Amanah Bootcamp will open, inshallah. So I hope to see you guys in the challenge and in my bootcamp as we go through. And let me know if you have any questions about those. So I hope that you'll really enjoy and benefit from all of that, inshallah. So let's jump in to evaluate your Ramadan. Did you exercise as much as you wanted to? Did you eat as healthy as you wanted to? And this webinar is all about giving you a plan for continued improvement for your healthy eating and exercise. So interestingly, we did some surveys, and at Amana Fitness, we're really big on prioritizing research-based fitness education. So we pulled over 300 Muslims from 2020 and 2021 to understand how the average Muslim experienced Ramadan. And most Muslims, really have that, okay, I really enjoyed Ramadan. And also we have that spread of around 25% are saying that this was my best Ramadan ever. 25% were saying, it was good. It could have been better. It was good though. And then you have between 4 to 7% saying that I really struggled. And so that's typical. We do have that level of struggle that we experience in Ramadan. We also asked, how is your overall energy in Ramadan? So again, same pattern that you'll have the majority, 50% saying my energy was mostly good. Then you'll have 15% saying I felt amazing. Often those are the ones who are exercising. And then you'll have 25% saying sometimes I do feel that laziness and tiredness, and around 8% saying that I really felt super low energy. And so that's that case. If that's you, we want to make sure that we're again having steps post-Ramadan that we can boost your energy and help you feel back on track, inshallah. So how is your Ramadan compared to that? Then this is super interesting when we looked at how many times did you exercise in Ramadan on average? And let me know in the chat, how many times did you exercise this Ramadan on average every week? And I thought this was so fascinating because you can see that we have a very, wide spread of data that whether it's, there's a lot of variability that yes, some people are exercising every day, some are making it 4 or 3 times a week, and many are also not exercising at all. So our goal at Amana Fitness is definitely to slide everyone closer towards exercising more frequently every week. And inshallah, again, today we're going to be talking about how to continue that. This is Ghazal is saying that this was the first Ramadan exercising while fasting. And that is actually, we hear that a lot from a lot of Muslim families, which is really exciting for me because when you start exercising Ramadan, you get that, this amazing thing like, wow, I've never done this before. And it's that energy boost, which is amazing. So thank you guys for sharing in the chat. That's awesome to see. So jumping into our discussion today about getting back on track after Ramadan, I always want to preface that discussion with setting our intention, right? The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah has not been asked for anything more beloved than being asked for good health and wellness, this concept of afia in this world and the next, right? So that's aspect that when we're spending this time together talking about our health and fitness, it's because it matters. It's because it's something that, we have to do to respect our bodies and live at our full potential in this life, inshallah. So let's work on making your du'as a reality. And again, when we're thinking about health and fitness post-Ramadan, I know that a lot of those common challenges come up like, okay, I'm so busy after Ramadan. There's so much coming up right now. But again, that thinking that, okay, I don't have time for health, it's a deception. And I want us to move past that, right? Spending time on your health and fitness will mean more quality opportunities for worship, especially right now when we're all really thinking and having the suffering of our brothers and sisters in Palestine in our hearts. Spending time on your health and fitness will avoid burnout. It'll allow us to spend that extra effort advocating. And so it's definitely that aspect of invest that time into your health and fitness, and it definitely will pay back and give you more time after, inshallah. And definitely, subhanAllah, as Jasmine is saying, being a new mom, same thing, that having that aspect, that finding just the smallest time in which you can just invest a little bit into your body will really pay back a lot in terms of mental health. And again, that feeling of burnout. And our workouts, the upcoming Body Reset Challenge, again, I think that's a great way to get started with that. 5-minute workouts, something that's really doable and manageable, inshallah. Really having that concept. And that's one of the reasons why I've been such an advocate of short workouts, because I know that when you start with those short workouts, you feel so different, and it just starts it makes this paradigm shift for us that, wow, 5 minutes really does make a difference. And that's kind of that concept I want to emphasize. So subhanAllah, Jasmine, may Allah make it easy for you and for all of the moms and new moms who are joining us today. Also, I want to emphasize that health is about making better choices for the behaviors you are already doing. We're going to talk today about nutrition. We're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about fitness. we're already doing this stuff, right? We're already eating, let's make it healthy. We're already sleeping, let's make it regular. We're often, thinking about our movement in certain ways, let's adjust it a little bit so that it's more supportive of our health goals, inshallah. So, and just to emphasize that improving your health can be worshipped too with the right intention. We know that the Prophet ﷺ said that verily your body has a right over you. So let's really set that intention as we're beginning this webinar, inshallah. So I know that getting back on track after Ramadan can feel very complicated. It can feel overwhelming. There's so much that we could potentially talk about, and we do have a lot to cover today. So when we're thinking about where to start, I always like to go back to what I call the Afia formula. So this is really thinking about our health very holistically, that your physical health can be broken down into your fitness, your nutrition, and your rest. And so we're really going to give you some real practical steps for all of these areas for you to work on right after we finish this webinar, so we can start making positive changes in all of these areas, inshallah. So let's jump in. First aspect is your nutrition that I want to talk about, specifically finding your food strategy after Ramadan to avoid overeating, grazing, and to recover the fasted state. This is one of the biggest areas that Muslims struggle with post-Ramadan, this transition into a healthy food strategy. So it's really important for us to spend some time talking about this today. So the post-Ramadan transition. Let's think about what happened in Ramadan versus what are we transitioning into in terms of our eating and food pattern now. In Ramadan, we were typically having 2 large meals, a bimodal food eating pattern at the beginning and end of the day. After Ramadan, for many of us, it's unplanned. Now we can eat all day long. So how's that going to look? In terms of Ramadan, we were restricted by time. So there was a restricted eating window. After Ramadan, unrestricted. What are we restricted by? Nothing, right? So you can eat at any time. Feeding window in Ramadan, so we have this 17 hours or so in the fasted state, and it's this natural transition into fat burn inside of Ramadan. When we don't feed our bodies, when we allow our body to transition into the fasted state, you're able to tap into stored fat as fuel. Outside of Ramadan, for many of us, we transition into constant feeding, and we see what's called the disappearance of the fasted state in modern society, in which many of us never give our bodies time away from food, time to tap into fat burn. So this concept of unrestricted eating is dangerous, and it's an unnatural way of eating as well, as you'll see we'll discuss. So when we're transitioning after Ramadan, we have to place self-imposed limits on our eating to maintain control. Otherwise, it's very, very easy to slide into this cycle of constant eating throughout the day. And the end result of that is, of course, going to be weight gain. So this post-Ramadan transition dilemma, we see a phase shift in eating, right? It requires an adjustment. In Ramadan, many of us use fasting as a safety net, right? Maybe you thought to yourself at iftar, if someone offered you some dessert, you're like, oh, it's fine, I'm fasting, I'm not gonna gain any weight, right? So there's this phase shift of eating. Those same fasting restrictions are not there anymore. So of course, we're going to have to make adjustments in terms of how we're eating so we can stay on track. Often many Muslims experience a rebound effect. Again, when we remove the time restriction, we can eat all day, and many of us do transition into eating constantly throughout the day. So for that reason, post-Ramadan is specifically a danger zone for this formation of bad habits, or it can be a great opportunity to kickstart healthier habits that we want to develop for the rest of the year. So this webinar, I hope, is going to be that opportunity to kickstart some of those healthier habits and identify some of the harmful habits that maybe have crept in on us in the past 2 weeks since Ramadan. And the main one of those is going to be the disappearance of the fasted state. So historically, how would we eat? Historically, throughout human history, we would eat when we were hungry, right? This was based on food availability. It is inducing that natural fasted state. If we think about the time of the Prophet ﷺ, food was not always available. Food was scarce. So there was this aspect of eating when you were hungry, eating when food was available, that natural fasted state. Now, the modern dilemma is that, especially after the snack boom of the mid-20th century, we find so many of us transition into grazing. And grazing, just as it sounds like, if you think about grazing throughout the day, it's this aspect of constantly feeding. And this little cartoon I've put on the slide is this little kid who's saying, how much of a snack do I have to eat before it becomes a meal? This aspect that we are constantly snacking, eating, throughout the day. We're passing by the kitchen, popping in a few nuts. Some kids are, if your kids are having a snack, then you'll have some of that too. And then there'll be some leftovers and you'll have that as well. And then it'll be lunchtime. And so then we'll eat a full lunch. And then after lunch, maybe there'll be a little bit something sweet, maybe some more snacks. So again, we're constantly going throughout the entire day, really without giving our body any of that prolonged intervals to tap into the fasted state. So this is the disappearance of the fasted state that we see, especially in modern society. And this specifically unplanned meal frequency naturally causes this because we have this open license to eat anytime we want, and the food and the kitchen and the fridge is stocked with food. So let's look at some strategies we can use to get back in control. So I really want to focus on planning a post-Ramadan meal schedule that works for you. And it has to work for you, right? Everyone is different. So we need to find a way that we can really help you control your eating, but feels like it's a good fit. So the way we want to do that is we want to create times in the day in which you do transition and activate that fasted state for your body. We want to help you avoid this perpetual eating by creating times in the day in which our body is able to tap into the fasted state. And to do that, let's look at your food strategy, inshallah. Let's look at your meal timings. And I like to kind of split this up into if you're a snacker or if you're someone who likes to have big meals when you eat. So look at these kind of two options and see what might feel like a good fit for you. So if you're someone who likes to snack constantly throughout the day, perhaps you want to consider smaller meals with a more frequency in your eating window. So in this case, we want to watch out for not keeping track of your food intake, right? So that just constant overeating again throughout the day. We also specifically want to watch out for, again, that grazing, right? Small bites throughout the day results in that constant overfeeding. And we want to avoid making these meals nutritionally poor because they're resembling snacks. So if you're someone who finds that you're constantly snacking, or if maybe you're really busy and you find yourself just constantly having things on the go, the tendency here is to, again, just slip into snacks as meals. So I want you to kind of make that conscious shift that you're going to plan out in advance, figure out how you can have some nutritionally balanced meals to serve as those mini meals throughout the day. And really thinking about kind of how we can avoid that mindless eating, that constant overfeeding. So that's the kind of strategy that I find myself drawn to because I love to snack throughout the day. And so if I'm not careful, that can easily become, protein bars and snack food. So I need to be really intentional about figuring out, okay, what are the meals that I have today that are going to make sure that it gives me the right macronutrient spread of protein, of healthy fats, and carbohydrates to make sure that, again, I'm making sure that fuel throughout the day is there. So for the constant snackers, let's make sure that we're thinking about making sure that we have that meal approach rather than just snacking throughout the day. Or if you're someone who likes all-out meals, you like big meals, you like to enjoy meals, maybe you enjoy, bigger meals with your family as well. So here is, again, it's a great strategy. This way, we want to be planning for maybe 2 to 3 larger meals and making sure that we're having that fasted state in between. So again, being aware and mindful of constant grazing between those meals, right? So being really mindful about that. Things to watch out for here as well are not keeping track of your food intake. On these larger meals, eating to the point of being stuffed or bloated, we never want to eat to that point. That state of overeating to that level not only has negative physical consequences, but also negative spiritual consequences. We know that there's many statements from the companions, and as well, it's in the Sunnah to avoid that state of overeating to the point of stuffed or fullness. And also, we want to kind of keep in mind that between these meals, no matter which strategy you use, we want to allow yourself to enter that fasted state. So for all of these, please make sure that you are getting a healthy balance of all of the food groups. And again, I'll give you a simple guide to do that. And think about tracking your meals, even if you just do it for 1 or 2 or 3 days, just to get an idea of where are your personal deficiencies. Are you getting enough of all of these different food groups? And so you can kind of get an idea of where we should work on. And I want to mention a strategy that we can add to make sure that we allow our bodies to transition into a longer fasted state. And that is to consider introducing the strategy of overnight fasting into your daily routine. So keep in mind that after you eat, 2 to 6 hours after eating, depending on how big your last meal was, we're going to use up the energy from our last meal and then gradually transition into burning fat. So by allowing yourself a cutoff time in which we will stop eating, we can really easily transition into that fasted state overnight. And so overnight fasting is one of the really simple strategies that allows us to recover the fasted state, especially in modern society. So it's really simple to add overnight fasting into your lifestyle, and I would say try it out and see how it feels for you. Basically, you want to start out by thinking, okay, how long do I want to have this fasted state, overnight fasting? And so you don't have to start with 12 to 14 hours. You can, really think about, okay, what if I want to just give my body a break for 8 hours overnight? So think about, okay, what time would I have to close the kitchen so that I could get that period of the fasted state until breakfast the next morning? So that is a fantastic way to, again, make sure that we are recovering the fasted state. Afshan's asking, how can we go to sleep at 8 p.m.? I'm not saying you should go to sleep at 8. I'm saying that from 8 p.m. we're closing the kitchen, and then whether you go to sleep here, it goes around like midnight or so, whenever that is, overnight fasting doesn't have to just be fasting when you're sleeping. It could be, again, like how you see on this chart, like maybe you pick a time like 8 p.m. where that's the kitchen cutoff time, right? That's the time where we're going to stop eating. This is really a fantastic strategy because, again, it really will add in that time control into our eating that for so many of us after Ramadan we lose. So by adding in this eating window, you kind of add back a little bit of regularity, and we thrive on regularity. So thinking about, okay, what time would I close the kitchen? And then, kind of having your last meal planned accordingly. So whether you're doing, kind of the snacking style, whether you're doing bigger meals throughout the day, adding in some overnight fasting is a fantastic way to, again, transition into the fasted state. So Fatima is mentioning, okay, it's recommended to fast for weight loss for 16 hours or so ever. However, I want to emphasize that I'm all about being practical. So we can't say, okay, if you don't fast for 16 hours, it's not worth it. No, not at all. Transitioning into the fasted state, even if that's for 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 hours overnight, is a great way to give your body a break from the constant overfeeding. It's a great way to, again, transition into stored fat. It's such a fantastic, and it has so many health benefits. So even if you can't do maximum, the same as you were doing in Ramadan, allowing your body a break from food, whether you're doing that in the day or through overnight fasting, is beneficial, no matter how little or how long you're going to be doing that. So some strategies to, again, bring back the fasted state that naturally we're meant to have. We're not meant to have that constant overfeeding, so bringing back the fasted state is super helpful. Try this pattern a few times in the week, see if it will work for you, tweak and adjust. How long is your overnight fasting window going to be? See how it works, and it's a fantastic strategy if you'd like to try it out. All right, so let's talk about how to avoid overeating when we live in a world where grazing is the norm. And again, I want to highlight the fact that overeating, it doesn't just have physical consequences, it also has spiritual consequences. The, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Khalifa, he mentioned that, people, beware of eating too much, for it makes you lazy, and prayer is bad for your body and causes sickness. Rather, you should be moderate in your eating, for that is closer to righteousness and farther removed from extravagance, and makes one stronger to worship Allah. No person will be doomed unless he gives precedence to his desires over his deen. And subhanAllah, it's so beautiful to reflect upon the fact that the companions were highlighting the dangers of overeating because they knew there was a connection between our physical acts, our eating habits, our health, and our spirituality. So it's something to reflect upon, especially when we're thinking about overeating. So some quick strategies that we can use to avoid overeating. Firstly, consider family meals, bringing back family meals as much as you can. Children and adolescents who share family meals 3 times or more per week are more likely to be in the normal weight range and have healthier eating patterns. We also know that they are less likely to engage in disordered eating. And those family meals, even if you can't, have the family meals, all meals of the day, of course, it's difficult, especially if you're working. Having as Safara was mentioning, a one time in the day, perhaps close to that dinner time or before you start your overnight fasting, one family meal is a great way to really add those healthier habits, especially because it also helps you eat slower. And eating slower is another fantastic strategy we can use to avoid overeating. A full stomach is only part of what causes you to feel satisfied after a meal. Your brain also has to receive a series of signals that are, involved in our whole digestive tract, right? So what happens and how do we know we are full? There are stretch receptors in your stomach. They signal the brain to release hormones that tell you that you're full. But eating too quickly doesn't give us time for this hormonal crosstalk to happen. And so many studies have shown that when we eat too quickly, we are going to be eating more. We're going to be consuming more calories and slipping into that overeating very, very quickly. So slowing it down, taking time to chew more, to just really enjoy that food will result in better digestion. You'll feel fuller. You will also eat less. And research has shown that people who eat slower have a smaller waist circumference and lower body mass index. So allowing yourself to slow down is so helpful. And again, there's so much research that shows that, again, that you'll consume less food and have healthier outcomes when you eat slower. Faster eaters not only had a larger waist circumference, but also had higher blood pressure and were twice as likely to develop obesity compared to slower eaters. So definitely strong motivation to eat slower. Again, remember, the appetite is complex. There's situational, emotional, hormonal cues that allow us to feel full. And so slowing down will increase your satiety. It'll allow you to really catch up with those feelings of fullness. So how do we do that? How can we eat more slowly? Simple. Chew more. Allow you to keep that food in your mouth for longer. Chew more. We want to drink more. We want to talk more. And we want to taste more. All of those are ways that we can make sure that we are eating slower. And again, family meals are a great way to help that happen. All of that allows you to, really control your eating. And of course, the best way is to develop this state of mindfulness when it comes to your food, starting with Bismillah, and right at that time, setting an intention for your meal, right? Setting that intention that this is a meal that is going to fuel our bodies. We want to avoid overeating as per the Sunnah. We want to really have that intention when we're starting our meal, and that will really keep you in that mindset where you're able to slow down and have more presence of mind to avoid overeating, inshallah. Also, drinking more water throughout the day and especially at mealtimes will help you feel fuller. It'll help you eat in a more controlled way at mealtime. It helps in digestion. It curbs appetite. So really thinking about when you wake up, before meals, before, during, and after exercise, and whenever you want to snack, starting off with water. Adding more water is so beneficial for your energy and for your overeating. So transitioning into adding more water and making it convenient. I love to think about convenience when we're talking about, your healthy eating and weight loss, because convenience will always trump your willpower, like almost every time. And I can really relate to that from my own weight loss struggle. When I was 60 pounds overweight, the convenience factor was always there. And so we know that when you start off, thinking about eating healthy, you can be super on track for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, and eventually busy lifestyle will catch up and, you'll be stressed out and you'll go for what's easy and convenient. So I like to say, find the easiest source to tackle. So if we're thinking about what are the common triggers of overeating for you, yes, we can say that, there's the emotional eating factors or the stress eating factors. That's of course something that we want to dig into and really think about how we can establish healthier habits. That's a difficult topic to break down. What is an easier source to break down? Okay, so I'm finding myself really snacking when I'm really overstressed. Another source could be that it's really readily available in the home, right? Another source of that could be that it's not portioned out, so that it's really easy to just eat and eat and eat and not really be mindful of the portions. So think about the chain of overeating that is triggering these habits, and start tackling the easiest one. So be mindful of what you bring into your house, because what you're bringing into your home is of course what you're going to end up putting into your body. Pre-portioning bulk packaged snacks is a great strategy, just again to give yourself a little bit of help with the convenience factor. So when it comes to my favorite snacks, I always try and pre-portion them when I bring them in, because I know otherwise I'll grab the whole bag and it'll all be gone. So pre-portioning bulk packaged snacks into serving sizes that you want to have, again, makes this more convenient. Meal prepping at your level. Meal prepping does not have to be like, how you might see on Pinterest, where you see like someone who has gone and spent like 8 hours on a Sunday and prepped like all of their meals for the week to come. That's very arduous and a time-consuming task. If you do that, that's awesome, but for most people that's very overwhelming. But meal prepping might even look just like washing fruits and veggies so that you have access to them throughout the week, and that you're going to have them in your diet throughout the week, right? So meal prepping can be at any level, whether that's pre-portioning snacks, washing fruits and veggies, even just looking and having a look and seeing what are the meals on deck for the week, and just having that thought, okay, am I making sure that there's a good balanced spread here? It's a great way to just get into that habit. So again, this is a theme that I want you to pick up from this webinar. I am never all about 0 or 100. It's not about, okay, you have to do everything or nothing. It's about finding those small little things that you can add in, whether that's just a little bit, whether that's more water, whether that's eating slower, picking some of these strategies that you feel empowered to implement right after this webinar ends. So I want you to be thinking as we're talking, what seems simple and doable? If you find yourself nodding along and being like, I could do that, make that the thing that you want to implement right after this webinar ends, inshallah. That's how we start making progress and avoid that feeling stuck and overwhelmed, inshallah. And of course, making it balanced. I love looking at plate guidelines because it's simple for everyone to follow. So if you've seen the this plate guideline, essentially we look at your plate, we split it in half. Half of your plate is going to be fruits and vegetables, and the other half is going to be split between carbohydrates and protein. Getting that simple split every time you're eating is a fantastic way to make sure that you're getting a nice balanced meal plan. And a lot of times we overcomplicate food. Too many times we're like, but I want, an exact meal plan that plans everything out for me so that I can follow it for the rest of my life. No one's gonna follow that for the rest of their life. If you have this approach that you're able to pre-portion your own plate based on the foods that you and your family are eating, you're gonna do better. And you can really think about how can we make this happen simply. So if you're often cooking in your home's curries or ethnic food, and you find that, I actually would have a hard time filling half of my plate with veggies, then that's a cue to go and get some pre-washed veggie bags to keep in your fridge so that you can add in that half plate of veggies and just make it more balanced. So I've always had this very simple approach to healthy eating because it is, honestly, for me, it's the only thing that worked. To have it, make it simple so that I can apply this whether I am at someone's home, whether I'm at my own home, whether I'm at a restaurant. I can always quickly look at my plate and see, is this balanced? How close to balance am I getting? So make it balanced and using these simple strategies. And definitely let me know in the chat as we're going through, what are some of the simple strategies we're talking about that you feel like, okay, I want to implement, I can make that happen, inshallah. Some ladies are saying drinking more water, and that's fantastic. So another sister is mentioning that it's hard to have structured food times when you eat in a full house and you share family meals. Definitely. So then that might be a good opportunity for you to use that snacking, that snack strategy that we talked about earlier. And then every time you eat with the family, again, you're in control of what goes onto your plate. So really think about that plate and try and make sure that you're portioning it out every time, inshallah. So now they're saying to eat slower. That's a good one for sure. And I want to add on to that, try and avoid screens when you're eating as well, because again, it transitions us into that mindless style of eating versus we want to be in that present, mindful, slow, grateful, present style of eating. So that's awesome. So yeah, that sounds great. So our summary for this section is our first goal is to avoid grazing and constant eating. So the first tip is to add periods throughout the day in which you enter a fasted state. You can do this by planning your meal timings and allow your body a break from food between your meals. And we can also try overnight fasting to give your body a prolonged period of the fasted state. Do not be a perfectionist, whether you can add in a few hours or more. Doesn't matter. Start off with what you're able to do for the fasted state overnight, inshallah. Our second goal is to avoid overeating. 7 quick tips. Understand the spiritual significance and how our food habits have an impact on our spiritual health as well. We want to try and adopt family meals if you're able to. We want to eat slower, more present, and more mindfully. We want to drink more water. We want to try and make it convenient. Look for how you can make healthy eating more convenient in your life and aim for those balanced meals. So some quick tips with your nutrition. I should say that I feel like I have to eat kids' leftovers a lot. Definitely so many moms are going to relate to that. So I feel like we can approach that in either 2 ways. One, we can kind of have that mindfulness about making those leftovers kind of constitute a meal for you, right? Like if you think about what are the foods that your kids are constantly passing on to you, what could you add to make it into a meal? So if they're constantly passing over sandwiches and a lot of that, how can we add a little bit more protein and a little bit of veggies? There you go. That's your balanced meal. So that's a great option. Or you can think about, so that's one way. Or you can think about the approach of storage solutions that you can, kind of be shifting those foods to be used elsewhere for your kids instead of you bringing them into your body. So both are totally valid options, and it's just about finding what works best for you and your family. So let's quickly transition. We talked about some strategies for food. I want to cover a little bit about sleep because that's an important part of your health as well. And then we're going to get into fitness. So let's motor through. Sleep after Ramadan is one of the biggest challenges that we all struggle with that has a profound impact on your health that many of us overlook. So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about sleep. Let me know in the chat if you have struggled with sleep after Ramadan. I gotta say me. I have really been struggling transitioning into a regular sleep cycle after Ramadan, so I'm really working on this as well. The main goals here is getting consistent after the Ramadan phase shift. So why does sleep matter? Sleep matters because your body at rest is a body that is recovering and healing, and really that's when we have time to improve your health, right? When your body is resting. And sudden changes in our circadian rhythm are often linked with obesity and weight gain. So we want to look at these times where we're in kind of this danger mode, after Ramadan, for example, where there's this phase shift where, okay, now we really want to have a closer look at what's happening with our sleep cycle. So sleep deprivation, we know it results in a greater propensity for weight gain and obesity. We also know that we have greater levels of the hunger hormone ghrelin that is produced when we are sleep deprived. So it makes you hungrier, which makes you more likely to eat more. So this is one of the common mechanisms why sleep deprivation, lack of sleep, improper sleep schedules often results in weight gain because we're feeling so much hungrier. We also find that lack of sleep is associated with reduced impulse control. So basically, you're going to be less able to exert that strong willpower when you're sleep deprived. We also find that you have a greater likelihood to succumb to cravings and indulge in unhealthy habits that, might be something that if that impulse control kicks in there as well. And also, of course, stress, irritability, sour mood, it's all linked in there. So that aspect of sleep deprivation definitely has an impact on our health that we want to be mindful of. So whenever we're talking about sleep, it's difficult because I know that everyone has busy schedules that make getting enough sleep a challenge. So perhaps you've seen this common chart from the National Sleep Foundation that asks you how much sleep do you need, and you'll see that it's a range for each person, right? So that common aspect that many of us think, oh, I need 8 hours of sleep. It is a range for each person, and essentially your body will tell you how much sleep you need. Your body will tell you if you're getting enough. if you're constantly feeling tiredness throughout the day, if you're feeling, that hunger throughout the day, if you, feel that you can really fall asleep like in 5 minutes as soon as you close your eyes, if you are sitting in your car and you're like at a traffic light and you're like finding yourself nodding off, all of these are signs that you're not getting enough sleep. So your body will tell you, and tapping into this is a great way to think about, are you getting enough sleep? There's actually a test, the Epworth Sleepiness Scale, that you can kind of do that gives you an idea of, okay, are you in a case of sleep deprivation? So when we're thinking about sleep, again, I know everyone's saying, I'm busy, I don't have time for more sleep. How can I improve my sleep even if I don't have time? So I think that there's 3 steps that I want to kind of share with you on how we can do that. The first is consistency and regularity. And if you remember, we started off this webinar by saying that health is about making better decisions for the behaviors you're already doing. So first thing I want you to think about is your regularity when it comes to your sleep. Regularity is what your body thrives on. Your body loves this aspect of regularity and finding a rhythm throughout the day that is consistent and regular. So regardless of how much sleep you're getting, if you can try and be consistent and regular with your sleep and wake time, will have a profound impact on your health even before, we're thinking about increasing your sleep. Again, this is something I really struggle with. Like on a busy day, it's really tempting to stay up super late. And then on a day where it's not as busy, well, then maybe I can go to bed earlier. But finding that consistency and regularity and sticking to that as much as possible is truly one of the best things we can do to improve our sleep, make our sleep more restful when we are sleeping, and really help our body adjust to this post-Ramadan phase shift. So that's definitely first strategy. This as far as saying adding dhikr before sleeping, fantastic, definitely. So thinking about how we can become regular and adding in helpful tips that allow you to have that regularity. The second thing that I want to say is using what's called zeitgebers to help you set your circadian rhythm. So a zeitgeber, it's a German word that basically is a cue that allows your body to feel awake and wakefulness. And so the most common ones are sunlight and movement. So when we're trying to adjust our sleep cycle after Ramadan, using these zeitgebers is really helpful. So when we wake up, you feel that grogginess. It's called sleep inertia, where you feel like you just want to keep sleeping. To help your body adjust, and remember, we're aiming for consistency and regularity. Try and get up and get some movement in. Move your body. No matter whether it's intense or low intensity, it doesn't matter. Getting in that movement, that's a zeitgeber. It's an internal cue for your body that it is time to wake up. And when we do that with consistency and regularity, your body can predict that, and you will naturally feel that grogginess and sleepiness that many of us have starts to diminish, because your body is getting used to that with regularity. But it has to be regular in order for this to happen and this transition to happen. Also, external zeitgebers. Sunlight is the best way that we can help our body know that it's time to wake up and get into that nice wakeful state. So again, thinking about consistency and getting regular with when we wake up, getting movement and sunlight, best way we can help align our sleep cycle. So that's definitely something I'm working on after Ramadan. And of course, avoiding sleep disruptors to improve your sleep quality based on your personal needs. So if you are sleeping soundly through the night, no problems, then you can say, okay, my sleep quality is pretty good. But if you find yourself constantly disrupted through the night, constantly waking up, trying to go to sleep, struggling with sleep, that might be an indication that there are some sleep disruptors in your environment that we want to address. Really common one is light. Someone in the chat mentioned being on your phone disturbs sleep, and it's true. The light that is, and especially blue light, but light and inhibits the production of melatonin. So we want to, and that is the sleepiness hormone, right? So we want to look at your personal needs. So if you're struggling with sleeping in the night, that's a case where, okay, I need a little bit more help in making my sleep quality better. So that's a case where you'd say, okay, I know for me personally, I need the help. So I'm going to set a time limit, a time before bed that is going to be a screen-free zone. This is so difficult for me, especially. I always find myself on my phone before bed, and I can see the impact that then I'll have a harder time falling asleep. So if that's you, if that's a person in need, making sure to be more disciplined with avoiding those sleep disruptors, the phone, sources of light, even in your bedroom, any sources of light can impede your sleep, right? Can impede the melatonin production. So a great way to test this is if you go into your room and you close the door, turn off the lights, look at how dark your room is. Our bodies love to sleep in total darkness. So if you close the door and it's like flashing lights from your alarm and from some charger and it's like bleep, 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 that's a case that we want to kind of do an assessment and make our room a darker, more comfortable area to sleep to improve your sleep quality. So some great suggestions as far as mentioning reading. Yes, that's great. So Anisa, what if we use a blue light filter? So the light that's still emanating from your phone, and especially how do we hold it, like 2 inches from our face, that's still going to be a sleep disruptor. So just be mindful that, and again, this is personal for you. If you're sleeping through the night, no problem. Okay, maybe it's not your most urgent thing to work on. But if you're like me, I definitely will find that when I'm on my phone, I'm gonna have trouble sleeping. So that's a case where I have to be more disciplined. Let's see, Nora is mentioning going to sleep is hard because I'll think about everything I didn't get done before sleeping. Me too, sis. That is such a common challenge. A great strategy is to keep a notepad next to your bed and just like write everything that's in the brain that's coming, just like write it all out, and just allow that to be kind of that way of saying, okay, I know that those tasks are there, I'm documenting them, I'm gonna get to them, and I'm moving on now. So just a strategy to get the thoughts out of your brain. But I feel you, at night it's like everything that I didn't get done is like back into your brain. Hima is mentioning, does physical activity impact our sleep quality? Exercise actually will help you sleep better. Exercise is one of the best ways that we can also improve our sleep quality. Again, everyone is personally different. Some people can exercise very close to bed and fall asleep no problem. Others, if you exercise close to bedtime, you might find yourself feeling a little bit wired and have difficulty sleeping. So go based on your personal tendencies. And if you find that you're having a bit of trouble sleeping, move your exercise earlier, maybe earlier in the day, so it can act like a zeitgeber. You'll notice that we're talking about looking at your personal cues and finding what works best for you. All right, so we talked about some sleep summaries. So the goal here is to improve your sleep consistency and quality. We want to aim for regularity. We want to use those zeitgebers to reset your sleep cycle and help you not feel that exhaustive tiredness when you wake up. Movement and sunlight, best ways to make that happen. And we also want to improve your quality of sleep if you need to do that. So those are some strategies for sleep. Drop in the chat if you're going to implement any of those, inshallah, and hopefully we can all start sleeping a bit better. All right, so we're making good progress. Final section, fitness after Ramadan. This is so important. I'm so passionate about getting into a solid fitness strategy after Ramadan. Our main goals here are going to think about how to have strategies to combat the sedentary lifestyle, and also how to avoid common fitness mistakes. So these are the two goals we're gonna tackle. This is our last discussion for today. So stick with me, inshallah, and thank you for your attention. All right, so when we're thinking about fitness, I know that so many of us feel like, oh, I don't wanna work out. However, did you know that we all significantly underestimate how much we will enjoy exercise? It's called a forecasting bias. We think, oh, I don't want to do it, but then when you start, you're going to have a great time. So keep that in mind next time you are thinking that, oh, I don't want to do this. So let's first discuss that first goal, being sedentary. The number one thing that ladies will tell me when they bump into me is that, I really want to be fit and I really need to work on my fitness, but I have such a sedentary job and I'm like sitting all day. So that is a common challenge. So let's talk a bit more about being sedentary, because this is a really profound impact on our health. What is being sedentary? And a lot of times we kind of intuitively know, I'm like sitting around all day. So what exactly is it? The World Health Organization defines it as any time spent sitting or lying down with low energy expenditure. And low energy expenditure is any waking behavior that is characterized by an energy expenditure of 1.5 METs or less. So an MET is a metabolic equivalent of a task. So any task that you're doing has a measured MET, a metabolic equivalent of that task. One MET is defined as the rate of energy expenditure while at rest. So if we're being sedentary, that's 1.5 METs. Or if you're thinking on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how difficult it is for you to do, no effort. That's a sedentary behavior. So anything that's defined as that lack of energy expenditure is a sedentary behavior. Then we can go to low intensity exercise. So that's an MET of 3, or if you're thinking on a scale of 1 to 10, anywhere between a 1 or a 5 in effort in terms of how difficult it is. So this is where we're thinking of walking, housework, light movement. That's, not too hard. That's light exercise. Moderate exercise is an MET anywhere of 3 to 6. This, if you're thinking on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your effort, is between a 5 or 6. So it's starting to get a bit challenging. A brisk walk, light sports, any type of activity that gets your body moving. And then high intensity is a MET of 6 or higher. So this is anything higher than a 7 scale on effort. So it's difficult. Your heart rate is getting higher. You're doing maybe jogging. You're doing a fitness class. You're doing one of our boot camp workouts. You're doing something that gets your heart pumping. So important to get that time of high intensity training in there. So you can see that sedentary behavior is anything of that low effort type of movement. A lot of women will come up to me and say, I'm not sedentary, Amina. I am moving around my house all day long and you don't know it. That may be true. However, keep in mind that those are going to be low MET activities, so it still can be contributing to an overall feeling of being sedentary. So movement requirements that I want us all to try and aim for. The Canadian 24-hour movement guidelines is to aim to limit your sedentary time to less than 8 hours. That also will include breaking up long periods of sitting as long as possible and limiting the screen time, especially to under 3 hours. So again, that sounds like, oh, that's so long, 8 hours. But again, we want to be thinking about breaking up those periods of sitting. And the World Health Organization guidelines for activity is again to limit the amount of time being sedentary and trying to break up those times with some aspects of movement and aim to get to those higher MET levels, aim to get to those higher physical exercise levels as often as possible to reduce those detrimental effects. And you might say, okay, is sitting really a problem? Like, it's just so comfortable. Everyone is sitting anyway. Does this really make a difference? And yes, it does really make a difference. So this is a really interesting study that actually followed 17,000 Canadians from ages 18 to 90 years old for 12 years. And so they asked them all to indicate the amount of time that they spent sitting every day, and they charted and looked at your survival rate. So subhanAllah, sitting actually does have an impact on our survival rate. You can see that the graph goes down. So those who who are reporting sitting almost all the time, their survival rate, actually we see a profound impact on this graph. So it is something to consider that subhanAllah, like sitting more is actually quite harmful for our health and has long-term implications. So many research studies, they state this, and say that limiting your excess sitting time will reduce the overall impact of premature mortality, that's survival rate, and also several major chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. So definitely worth it to think about how we can spend less time sitting. And studies show that eliminating more than sitting 3 hours a day, so trying to get your sitting time under that 3 hours a day, can increase your average life expectancy by almost a quarter of a year. And so again, these little things add up, thinking about how we can reduce our sitting time. So how do we practically stop being sedentary? I know that it's difficult. First of all, increasing your daily steps to 8 to 10,000 steps a day. So look for opportunities for movement wherever you can. And this is where it is helpful to track your movements so you have an idea. I love the Apple Watch for that because I find that the activity rings are a fantastic way to get a good gauge of your progress. I'm at the beginning of the day and I'm going to be aiming to fill those rings throughout the day. So having some way to track your movement is helpful so we can get some objectivity in terms of, okay, how sedentary am I actually? We want to be aiming for 8 to 10,000 steps daily. However, most people are hovering around 3,000 to 4,000. So getting some way to track that is really helpful. And honestly, it's really simple. It's about making it a priority. It's about making moving more a priority and getting yourself to look for those opportunities. Okay, can I park farther away from the grocery store and walk in the parking lot? Can I walk up and down my stairs as I'm talking to my mom on the phone? Can I be a stand up after every 15 to 20 minutes and just walk a loop around my living room if I'm working from home? If you're spending time with your baby, can you walk while holding them? Adding in these times of movement is a great way to allow yourself to add that movement in, and it's not complicated. You really just get into that habit, and then you find these opportunities for movement come up much more than you expected. So this section I wanted to highlight and really bring our attention to how important it is to be stepping more and moving more throughout the day, just so we can have that increased priority for it, inshallah. A great way to keep that patience is, again, to be setting your intention as we're going through, to keep in mind that there's so much meaning in this, and we want to have that approach that this is that lifestyle approach, not something we're doing as a quick fix. All of you who have done my workouts, you know that we start every workout with Bismillah, setting your intention, because it helps us starts to unlearn these harmful things that we've learned about our health in terms of crash dieting and the approach that so many in the mainstream fitness industry take. So thinking about setting our intention through all stages of this. The key thing I want to emphasize here is don't focus on the end result. Focus on your daily behaviors. So focus on thinking of what are the daily behaviors that I need to do to get me to that health goal. So many times women will come up and say, okay, I really want to lose weight. And that's the thing that we're focusing on the most. But I really want to put that scale aside for a moment and say, how can we hyper focus on your daily behaviors, on your daily movement, on your daily exercise, on your daily level of steps, on your daily healthy eating? That's what we want to be hyper focusing on, not the end result. And I've been in that period of really struggling with my weight, and hyper focusing on the scale, it doesn't help because it just makes us discouraged. The more you can focus on your daily behaviors, the more impact and benefit you're going to see, inshallah. And so last discussion that we're going to have is really making sure our fitness and the efforts that we're spending on our fitness is effective. Don't sabotage your time and effort with ineffective or incomplete exercises. So how do we make sure that your exercise routine is complete and effective after Ramadan? Firstly, I want to ask you here, would you consider this a good exercise, right? Running on the treadmill. I love to run. I run often, frequently. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I love to run. And so many women, when we're thinking about getting into exercise after Ramadan, this is the only thing that they'll be doing. They'll be going to the gym, getting on a treadmill, going for a walk. Some of you hate the treadmill. Some of you are using it. So running's great. Cardio is great. All of these are great ways to move more, but I want to highlight that these are incomplete forms of exercise if this is the only thing we do. So the primary components of fitness are something that every single person needs to be aware of. So a good workout routine, a balanced workout routine that we want to have, especially as we're transitioning after Ramadan, is to include the main components of fitness. So a solid workout routine has to include, first of all, it has to include these aspects of cardio training. It has to include some time we are working on improving the strength of our heart. The benefits of this is that we're going to have a decreased resting heart rate, we're going to have a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease, and we're going to basically increase the strength of your heart. So getting in these opportunities for cardio is important. So examples of this are running, jumping rope, biking, going for a walk even can count as well. Anything that that gets your heart pumping. Our boot camp workouts, we do so much cardio in there as well. Any of this type of movement that gets your heart pumping is a great form of cardio capacity and it should be included in a good workout routine. So the recommendation for this is around 4 to 7 days per week. So aiming to get that in there and aiming for that. However, again, as we said, your workout routine is not complete if this is the only thing you focus on. So we also need to make sure that we are having opportunities for muscular development. This is really important to increase the strength of your muscles, which will increase your metabolic rate. So when we're thinking about we want to become more efficient fat burners, you can actually boost your metabolism by developing lean muscle. Many times women especially will feel that my metabolism has slowed down as I've gotten older. Well, by exercising with effective muscular strengthening, we can actually boost your metabolic rate. That's a major benefit of muscular training. And also it'll reduce the risk of injury, especially again for women as we age. To counter some of that deconditioning that happens naturally, we have to make sure that we are getting muscular development. And the recommendation here is again 2 to 4 times a week. And of course, flexibility training just helps reduce the risk of injury when we are spending that time, devoted to some flexibility improvement. It can also improve our posture as well. And you can do that, in conjunction with your workouts anytime 4 to 7 times per week. So these are the 3 main components that we want to have in our workouts. And overall, every week, you want to aim for 150 to 300 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise per week for adults, or 60 minutes for kids and adolescents. So there is a lot that's happening here, and I know that it can be a little bit stressful when you're thinking, okay, but how do I start with all of that movement? This is why I truly believe every single person needs to be following a home fitness routine. You have to have it so that you can get this complete approach to your fitness. So many women, they'll be having a skewed or unbalanced fitness routine, and it's great that you're going on the treadmill, you're going for a run, you're adding these aspects. It's so fantastic you're doing that, but we can't neglect the other components as well. We need to make sure that we're getting in that muscular training, especially as we get older. So making sure that we have a consistent home fitness routine is one of the best things that you can do for your body. And it needs to be at home because there's gonna be days where you can't make it to the gym, especially now so many gyms are closed. Having a routine that we can do at home is so critical to keep that consistency going long term. So we're here to support you with that, inshallah. As you guys know, next week we're doing our body reset challenge. This is a fantastic way to start adding in these many components of fitness in a really manageable way. Right from our body reset challenge that we're doing next week, you're gonna start getting that cardio work and also that muscular training. We're gonna work your entire body and really develop that muscular strength, which is so important in short 5-minute workouts. So we've really designed these workouts to be totally no excuses, and I really hope that you'll join me for them. You can sign up for that at amanahfitness.com/challenge. Make sure that you sign up for the challenge that we're gonna go through together next week. And that is a fantastic way to add that in for your body. And of course, we want to keep that up. So right after the challenge on June 14th, my Amana Bootcamp registration is going to be opening, inshallah, for our next intake. We only open the Amana Bootcamp a few times per year because otherwise I'm focused on my Amana Bootcamp ladies for the rest of the year. So make sure that you are getting on the waiting list. I saw a couple of questions come through in the chat as we were going about the Amana Bootcamp. So this is my personal coaching group. This is all of my full 20-minute workouts, no equipment, but really getting in all of those components, the cardio components, the muscular strengthening, the leading and the toning, full body approach. That's all in the Amana Bootcamp. It's a lifetime access program, and I'm so proud of the results of so many of our ladies who are in the bootcamp, mashallah. And again, we're supporting you continually in there. After Ramadan is always a time where we want to make sure that we have a plan. If we don't have a plan, it's not going to happen. So we talked about a lot of components of fitness today. We talked about all of those things that can often feel very overwhelming. Again, having a home follow-along workout program is one of the best ways that you can simplify all of that. So that you literally just have to come to class, press play, follow along your daily workout and you know that you are getting a really consistent approach to your fitness. And yes, Jasmine, it is super affordable, alhamdulillah, and all of the registration details will be released when registration opens, inshallah. And as Aisha's saying, in the bootcamp, we all often release new workouts, so we're actually releasing a new workout series for all of my current bootcamp ladies as well. So all of you will have access to that, and I'm looking forward to sharing with that. Jasmine, it's a group workout program, and we do some really creative things in the bootcamp. So we have a really unique workout tracking system. Every day you're ticking off your workouts. We have a fantastic community of over 2,000 Muslim women in the bootcamp. We have a members only forum to keep each other motivated and on track. We have group coaching calls to keep up that personal approach. So it's a very high touch program that allows you to really get that support that you need to stay on track with your fitness goals, but also in the group format makes it super affordable and practical for everyone to come together and support each other, inshallah. So I'm excited to share that with you, and inshallah, lots to come. I really hope to see all of you in our Body Reset Fitness Challenge next week, inshallah, and in my Amanah Bootcamp that's opening the week after. Let me know as we go through. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat, inshallah. And I hope that this was a session that was beneficial for you. As we're transitioning post-Ramadan, this is the best time to think about making habits that stick, making time for our health so that we're able to keep up these good habits and don't experience what so many Muslims find is that post-Ramadan slump. We want to overcome the slump, transition into healthy habits, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for joining. I hope that you benefited. I'm glad to see many of you enjoy the challenges too. I hope to see you at our Body Reset Challenge next week doing those workouts. Keep an eye out for my emails to get all of the updates for that. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us all with the best of health as we transition post-Ramadan for the rest of the year, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.